have within us. And the men too, I mean, that actually do understand these 4 phases. But we're really talking about, it's only really recent history that we haven't really been cycling with the moon. Most of our DNA has been cycling with this lunar rhythm. So these are 4 phases that we know very well. I'm just asking women to wake this up, to remember it, and really start allowing her energies to align. But that 3rd week begins with ovulation, and that represents full moon energy. Yes, and so, I mean, think about how magnificent the full moon is. I mean, do you ever get tired of seeing the full moon? Never. I never get tired of seeing the full moon.
No, I think I like to meditate with it.
Yeah.
It's like when I like to go up on the mountain and just like turn my car facing that and just sit there.
Yeah.
Just let it go across the...
I mean,
it's just, there's such an energy there.
It's heart-stopping. It's heart-stopping.
Yeah.
It's just magnificent. But that's women on ovulation. Because women on ovulation are at their most magnificent, their most beautiful, scientifically. This is full-on goddess energy, because what happens here is ovulation is perfect earth-spirit alignment. I mean, when you think about it, the merging, the possible merging of an egg and a sperm is the most primordial thing.
1,000,000 to 1 that they all get together. 1,000,000 to 1.
Oh, well, I mean, there...
1,000 to 1, maybe.
Yeah, well, there are...
At least 100 to 1.
There's like 200 million sperm or something that start out, but then by the time it gets to that location and it's kind of hanging out and waiting for the egg to drop down, the queen bee to drop down, there's about 200,000 from what I understand, sitting there around waiting. And whoever swims the fastest and, really wants her the most, who's the strongest. But also, she chooses, apparently, and she's going to choose the chemical makeup that works out well for her also, that
so
she allows in.
Can she feel the... What's it called? When the two get together?
Can the woman feel it?
Yeah.
Not that I know of. I mean, women will say that they do. What we also really need to understand is pregnancy does not happen right there.
Right.
That would really be conception.
Conception.
Yeah. So when that conception happens, that's up to each woman. I mean, I think if she's super in tune and that she, it's not a physical sensation that you would feel. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I'm not going to say that. Yeah, energetic.
I would think they could feel energetically if they were real sensitive.
Yeah, possibly. I never did, but and I feel like I'm pretty sensitive. But I'm sure not going to say that women don't. Mm-hmm. That would be very individual.
Several women that I've been with have said that. I can feel all that happening. Mm-hmm. The sensitivity.
Well, it's a pretty big deal, and so but Earth-wise, it is the most primal thing that can happen, that emerging. But also, when you think about that, the possibility of creation, that's the most spiritual thing that can happen. So you've got ovulation is the perfect Earth-Spirit alignment, of this. Now again, disregard the idea. Forget the fact that you may or may not want a pregnancy. That's a different issue.
Yeah, right.
But just the act of ovulation itself is pretty phenomenal. It's the most amazing thing, as far as I'm concerned, that happens in the universe. I mean, this is, again, perfect alignment. And that is pretty exciting, that this is women. And again, scientifically, it's proven they are more beautiful at ovulation than any other time in the cycle, because primally they are attracting that mate. Right. And this is what the reproduction cycle is all about. This is what the female cycle is all about. It's about reproduction. And our brain is for figuring out whether, how that goes, or whether we're being smart to go that direction or not. But either way, ovulation happens. Then, ovulation, though, is really only 24-hour time period, approximately, just like the full moon. The full moon happens and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. But we have the rest of that 3rd week. And what happens in the rest of that 3rd week with our reproductive cycle is that our body waits to see if we're pregnant. Because if conception does happen, then that merging has to travel. And it can travel for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days before. It has to travel to the uterine wall and attach before there's a pregnancy. 50% of them don't make it to the uterine wall. So there can be conception but no pregnancy because it falls apart and doesn't make it. If they make it to the uterine wall, then a hormone is released, and that's a pregnancy. And that's what you see on the pink sticks or whatever, is that hormone. If that hormone has been activated, then there's a pregnancy. So what happens is that it takes many days to figure out for the body to figure out it's pregnant. How that relates to a woman in her life is that now she's on the other side of ovulation. So it's sort of like the next day after a big party, right? Now ovulation, now let me go back to that sexually for a second. Okay, so that second week we had romance. I mean, I tell couples after you've had your heart-to-hearts and you've been sweet in the first week, and now you've had fun and play and dates and romance, like turn on your best lovemaking skills. Ovulation is like it's primal, it's raw, like get down and dirty. I mean, it's just kind of like bring out your weirdest toys and do ridiculous things, and just like do just have a lot of laughs, because it really is just like this raw primal sexuality, ovulation,
The best time.
Yeah, fun. So, but again, you have to build on that. Just doesn't happen without these other things building up to it for the woman. So following that, though, it's like that's like the party time, right? That's the day after that. The women can feel it. If they're in tune, they can feel after they've ovulated, even if they haven't had sex or anything. You can feel this buildup of all this sexuality, and then there's kind of this, and it's like the day after a party. You get up in the morning after this really big party, and you're reflecting on it. Women are still sexual during this time. They're still really actually sitting very high on their thrones, but they're really in this world leader mode. They're really in this mindful mode. They're in this great position to reflect and observe what's happening in the world, what's happening in our home, what's happening with their partner. So that's when the communication with the partner is mind to mind. What we're going to talk about our money, what's going on with our home, what's going on with the kids, where are we living, those kinds of things. And you're still in one way, if you've done these other weeks, I mean, this is a great time for couples. I mean, because you're just really in this respectful mode of seeing, your chakras are lining up. Line them up, and you're just in this really honoring place. I mean, you're kind of a king and queen in a way, and really fabulous time. And this is the time that I tell women that they can really, they can make their best big decisions during this time, because it's such a great place to be. But this is where women are at their best world leadership mode and really know what needs to be done in the world and how to take care of it, and don't mess around a lot. It's like, let's go, let's take care of this issue.
So now what's the fourth cycle?
So the fourth cycle.
What do we do there?
Right, okay, so what happens is scientifically the body recognizes it's not pregnant. So what happens is that then you have to deconstruct that uterine lining, that uterine nest. And what happens then is that our feel-good drugs have to drop. And so we lose our feel-good drugs. Estrogen has already started to tank at before ovulation. It kickstarts, it starts to already leave. But as estrogen starts to leave during that third week, progesterone starts to come in. And progesterone is this really great drug. Progesterone is just this really calming, beautiful, nurturing drug that's there to nurture the uterine nest. It's kind of like the nanny that's going to rock the cradle, right? But it's not needed anymore. There's not going to be a cradle, so you need to get rid of the cradle. The progesterone goes. So during that fourth week, everything has to drop, and in that dropping, everything starts to deconstruct. And so what happens, again, traditionally we call this PMS, but I really reject this unless a woman is really suffering. There's some women out there who really suffer with the chemicals of this whole scene. But most women, this is not a syndrome. This is the problem-solving phase. This is the deconstructing phase, and this is the biggest opportunity ever to really be in ceremony with your whole world, with honoring yourself, with actually looking and observing what it is that is bothering you, that's not working in your life, and really know how to handle that. What happens is that as we lose these feel-good drugs, everything's trying to break down into position. So this is like the waning moon. Everything's heading towards the darkness, all right? Or heading toward, we're preparing to to purge this uterine lining the week after in the form of blood. So I identify this actually with like being in labor. This is like a mini labor. When a woman is in labor, the baby, everything's getting squeezed and pushed, and the baby's getting into position to be ready to be birthed. This is the same thing. During this week, everything's breaking down, preparing to purge this uterine lining. And we don't call labor a syndrome. We recognize that this is a radical scene. But because this is our everyday existence, so this is a little mini labor that's going on here. And what has to happen is that because this is all breaking down, everything's coming out in our tears and our voice and our uncomfortableness. So too much stimulation coming in is just too much, because so much is trying to push its way out and get into position. So I identify this, I haven't been saying fall, winter, spring, and summer, but I identify this with summer because this is like being in the hottest day of the year. You know, when we don't want people touching us, we may love them, but just like, don't hug me for too long. I'm hot, you know, I'm hot and irritable.
I've been there.
You know, I mean, and people say that.
Sweaty and hot, leave me alone.
Yeah, and you know, we think of summer as being so wonderful, and it is in the evenings oftentimes, but there's no season that relates to this fourth week, and I call this the fire walk. So I don't call it PMS, I call it the fire walk. It's a ceremonial time that we can actually take these hot spots when we first feel like crying, when we're irritated by someone. It's the total opposite of week 2, when we loved everyone. This is now the time that honestly we think everybody's stupid. And it's because...
Or that nobody likes you.
Or whatever, all of the above. We're in this state that we just can't handle people not having their act together, because we're just trying to keep it together ourselves. We're in survival mode, and the thing is that it's a serious time because we're in mama bear mode. What happens is the reason why we often aren't coping well with what's going on in the world. Again, too much stimulation coming in. We need everyone to be able to just have their acts together. We've been helping them with stuff all month long. Now we just need for everybody to do it themselves. We've got our own stuff to deal with. So any threat to our survival, because this is survival mode, any threat to our survival is just too much. Let's say we're with a partner, and or we're not, whatever, but money,